of our business and future jobs are in STEM. So that's science, technology, engineering, and math. Mounds View not only is doing STEM in their elementaries, but they're doing STEAM. Anybody know what the A means? Art. Okay, we want to wake up that critical, creative part of their brain when they're studying science and technology, because we don't want them just to regurgitate what they learn. We want them to be able to be really creative and entrepreneurial in the real world. So I'm not saying what Mounds View is doing is bad. I think it's absolutely fabulous, and I don't want anything less for them. But I think kids in Lester Prairie should have those opportunities, and all across the state. So we have been all about equalization, and this is, let me explain it to you. The intent of this came out of a lawsuit in the early 90s when the state was sued because they weren't equitably funding schools, and there was this heavy reliance on referendums. Well, when they lost in the lower court, the state did. They immediately appealed and eventually won, but during that 2-year appeal process, the state acted. And what they did is they put equalization in place, and that was really good for Lester Prairie. What it is the intent of the legislation was to make the cost per levy dollar the same throughout the state. So we all had the equal chance of getting those referendum revenues for our kids. And how they calculated this is that they said, well, okay, we're going to pay them a certain amount, and your local taxpayers are going to pay a certain amount, and we're going to calculate that by adding up all your referendum market value per kid and dividing by that number. Well, the problem with this formula is that number should have never been fixed, because it was based on property values in the early 90s, and it hasn't been indexed to handle the extra or show the escalating property values. So this is how it works in Lester Prairie. Back when this program began in the mid-90s, for every dollar referendum revenue you guys passed, the state paid 80 cents, and your local taxpayers were only responsible for the other 20 cents. Now, this is not a gift for you guys. This said $153 all the way down. But because property values have gone up, and they've never changed that number at the bottom, so the state keeps getting this really good break. And now at this point, you guys, for the state only pays 16 cents, and your taxpayers are paying the other 84 cents on the dollar. And that's why you guys pay twice as much, or over twice as much, for the same referendum revenue. So we're really hitting this equalization piece, and we are seeing, based on the new configuration, they think, well, we won't have a special session, or we won't, because they'll get it done, whatever it is. But we have been working very closely with the governor. Wants to do property tax reform, and he wants to do school funding reform. And he's has working groups coming up with proposals. And it's Tom Melcher, who's, I don't know if you guys know him at MDE, he's a finance guy, he's the guru, he knows everything. He is putting together that part of the school finance reform. And Myron Franz, who we are working with quite a bit too, he's the Department of Revenue, was at our last year's general membership meeting. We were able to bring him in and really talk about this equalization issue, and now it's really seen in the meetings and the working group. Equalization's on the radar. So we have a real potential this year to maybe get some movement on that. And what we would like to see, what would happen is this here in Lester Prairie, you guys have a $1,021 per pupil referendum. And you guys currently pay $227 a year for a $100,000 home for that. But if we can change that bottom number, we can drop that down, and you guys could see some significant property tax reform on the school levy piece. So what can you do? I spend a lot of time trying to talk to parents and community members, but I believe all of us need to be weighing in with our legislators and talking about equalization and adequate funding. And so I always say, don't be afraid to email and call your legislators. All of us should be doing that. I still hear that if they get just 10 emails on one subject, that's noise to them. So that shows, not from their constituents, not from lobbyists, but that shows how powerful that is if we all take the time, because we always think somebody else is doing it, but we're not. Because we want to see increased funding so that we can keep up with rising costs, and we want that equalization piece to stay in place. And then I also write weekly updates. And I've done this when I was doing this for my community. I did a legislative action committee. I do it now. I try to keep it in parent form, parent-friendly, but every week I write what's going on at the Capitol and how it's going to affect our district. And then at critical times, I can send out action alerts and say, if you want to do one thing for your kids or your community or your school, here it is. send an email now on this subject. And so I really encourage people to go to our website and sign up for that. And then you would start hearing from me on Friday afternoons once the legislative session begins. So I am going to wrap it up with that. I just want to give you a little bit of a background on what C is doing and what we're fighting for this session. And if you have any questions, I'd certainly be happy to answer them.
Any questions from the board?
Which schools in our area are part of C right now?
Do I have that? Well, all of these on the, all your neighbors, I kind of put you on this one. Quincy, from Annandale down are all C districts. We have 60, and I should have, I don't have that list for me on me right now. I think I would. But we have quite a few in this area. And it really is a mix of metro and outstate. Basically, we're property poor districts that get the lower funding from the state.
And does your group, are they considered lobbyists?
Our executive director is considered a lobbyist. Yeah. And he is down there all the time. And C is one of the main educational organizations that is asked for input because we represent 61 of these Minnesota school districts. So they do, legislators come to you, but they also come to our organization when they're voting and when they're working through policy and funding.
What's Brad's last name?
Lindell.
You said that the governor is on board with this program. This is something he's trying to reform, or it's trying to get the legislature to reform?
It really is. Now, we were at the school funding reform task force met yesterday, and they're pulling together their provisions, and it looks really good for our districts. They're going to do something like a $400 roll-in of your current referendum, but it would go to the point where you never have to renew it, and it would be fully equalized. It would be paid. We would be doing it through the general ed levy. They bring that back, and I don't know if you know what that is, but what it is that how much you pay for that $400 is based on the property wealth of the state, not our individual district. So for districts that have, in your situation, that are below average in property wealth, you're going to be paying less for the referendum that you have in place. So they want to put some money in special ed, and reduce that cross subsidy. It's a very interesting package. I mean, it's going to be something for everybody, and there's going to be something in it that everybody is going to, at least one thing that they're not going to like. But it is a very balanced package. And then Myron Franz on the Commission, Department of Revenue, he's working on the property tax reform, and that's where they're talking about equalization.
Any other questions for him? Thank you for coming. We appreciate it.
Sure. Thank you for having me.
The next item of business, the resolution entering Luster Prairie into an agreement with the state of Minnesota, MNSCU, for providing student teaching experiences for students from Southwest Minnesota State University. Do you want to read that?
Yes.
Do I have to do roll call vote on this?
Yep.
Okay. Student teacher agreement, Luster Prairie School District number 424 of McLeod County, Luster Prairie, Minnesota, agrees with the state of Minnesota, acting through the Minnesota State College University system as follows. During the school year beginning August 2012 and ending July 2015, Southwest Minnesota State University agrees to pay at a rate not to exceed $10 per semester credit hour for each student teacher placed in the Luster Prairie School District located in Luster Prairie, Minnesota. The school district agrees to supply the student teacher opportunity to work in a teaching learning situation cooperatively with teachers certified at standards equal or superior to the regulations of the state of Minnesota during the student teaching assignment.
What this is basically doing, Bob, is they will support this. We have some student teachers, and Mr. Schmidt has already worked at be coming in here in the second semester. The financial part, which is their donation, that's kind of the part we have to resolute. You can only bring student teachers in. But what Mr. Schmidt are looking for is also from the board for support that we would like to have more of these young teachers coming in and working with our experienced staff and helping out and providing some great educators for our future. Because as you can tell, we have 3 new ones this year again, and we get some of those ones come in and they're those great teachers. Hopefully, maybe something we can keep on when we have some great time.
What does it mean that they agree to pay at a rate not to exceed $10 per semester credit?
They just basically get a little donation for having them here.
And they're helping our teachers out.
And
And we're helping
they're
them.
getting experience in that field, which is, for the teacher that I was, a TAP student teacher, was a great thing. You're mentoring them, definitely, but it gives another educated body they're helping your kid.
If something were to happen to one of these individuals, if they were here, let's say they slipped and fell or something,
So they're
would we cover
under
their-
the college stuff, everything. So
they would be covered under
they're
the-
still a student at the college paying tuition and all that's under them.
Have we had anything like this in the past at all, or is this something new that we're...
We just haven't had really any student teachers, and I know Mr. Schmidt has worked hard with a few. I think he's got 2 coming in that there's been support. I believe one's Mrs. Murphy, and boy, the other one I cannot remember who it was that said yes, that they would definitely. We want to look for the support of the teachers, have it because they're the mentors,
And that's
but also like support the district, saying these teachers we want to do to start helping these kids out.
Matt asked a question to me, because he didn't remember us ever having any, and if we ever had any. The answer is yes, but through much of the 80s and 90s, St. Cloud, Mankato, Southwest State, and the University of Minnesota refused to come this far. Because it was about 50 miles to get supervision.
That's right.
Because they have a mentor. So actually, we were always open to that. In fact, we encouraged it, but we couldn't get them to come here because it was too far from everybody.
Definitely advantageous if you're close to the college. Yeah.
And positive feedback from the staff, I would assume you guys have addressed this with the staff or just with individual
Most of
staff
them, there's
members?
still some that are very protective that don't like that, but try to work with the ones that do. And in my experience, it's a great thing. I mean, you can't lose on it.
I know working with the teachers that I worked with, I know some of them would be very pleased and happy to have someone in there to help them.
Yeah. I think that's what Mr. Schmidt was to his guys. He just looked to see who wanted it, and who gave to me is that's who he worked with to get.
Mr. Chairman, I'll make the motion to approve the agreement with INSCU on student teachers.
Okay, is there a second?
I'll second it.
Seconded by Klitsky. Is there any further discussion?
Just on that, the staff, you know, their thoughts on it, there wouldn't be a circumstance where a teacher who didn't want one would be given one anyway, or would there?
Usually don't ever have that come up because it's just not going to be good for the student. And
Okay.
the college would say, no, they don't have full support of the teacher, and they sign off on it.
So it would have to be, you know,
It's an agreement.
would be in favor of it.
Yep.
The universities are pretty particular about that. They're careful, real careful.
INSCU is really trying to spread it out, and they're trying to change the teaching program to have more of this too, through everywhere. So it's a positive help for the all-state smaller schools too. Don't see a lot of student teachers.
Any further discussion? No further discussion. It's a roll call vote. Mr. Miller?
Yes.
Mr. Klitsky?
Yes.
Mr. Mockmeal?
Yes.
I vote yes. Mr. Radke?
Yes.
Ms. Heigl?
Yes.
And it is voted on unanimously. Okay. Library Committee to update us and speak about the Media Center.
Hello, I'm Darlene Schmidt. You guys have seen me before, and I've got Amy Meyer and April Lee here with me tonight. Amy and April are both on the Parents for Education Committee with me, as well as the library group that's been doing some things. We're here tonight for a couple of reasons. One, to kind of update you on what's happened, where we're at, and talk about what needs to happen next, and hopefully encourage some action on this matter to keep things moving and get our library to a better state than what it's been. First of all, just a little bit about what we've kind of accomplished, and not just our group, but other volunteers as well, and some administration tasks that we're aware of. First of all, we packed up all of these books last spring, had the janitors put them in the gym for the remodel. The improvements were made in the summer.